Feuchamaich, Olde Scot the Celtic podcast. Kimraha Huladunya, how is everyone? On today's show in Feuchamaich, Beagan, Gaidhlig, that's Let's Try Little Gaidhlig. Lesson 20 on Introduction to Prepositional Pronouns in Celtic History. The Confessions of Isobel Gowdie, Part 1. In Everyday Celtic Ways. The Ly Erg and the Redcaps. We'll hear music from Selkie Girls, Iona Fife, Anna MacDonald, Monran, and Rachel Walker. And as always, it's a wee bit of Irish trivia to test your knowledge. Where is the tallest building on the island of Ireland, and where is it located? If you're already a subscriber to the Olde Scot YouTube channel and enjoy the variety of interesting videos and podcasts that we produce weekly, then you should join us on the Olde Scot Facebook group. Not only do you get all the great videos you already enjoy, but so much more. Come and connect with your Celtic community here on Olde Scot Facebook group. Song, the history of it, or story behind it. So if you do know, please let me know, because I'm very interested. Alright, remember, Gaelic at the top, English at the bottom. Get ready.
Lagos mi baina ya falna lo rovio horne so rovio iri horo va goro shana kam savana shala falna lo rovio horne so rovio iri horo va goro. Clon his shot fallen on low rovio horne so rovio iri horo va goro nakfo ik file and fallen on low rovio horne so rovio iri horo va goro. Malina falna lo rovio horne so rovio iri horo va goro param faicha horam riga falna lo rovio horne so rovio iri horo va goro fiangol hokusla falna lo rovio horne so rovio iri horo va goro Ibarak nam fetchen head la falna lo rovio horne so rovio iri horo va goro. Mar svalna lo rovio horne so rovio iri horo va goro Gita danga horum nathen valna lo rovio horne so rovio iri horo va goro Gile unyen moringas valna lo rovio horne so rovio iri horo va goro Drorio ganto himash falna lo rovio horne ne sorovio iri horo va olugoro.
Scottish Gaelic is native to the Gaels of Scotland. Scottish Gaelic developed out of the Old Irish, and learning this beautiful language can be a direct link to your Gaelic ancestors. Follow along in Feuchamaich Beagan Gaelic, and like I said, let's try a little Gaelic. Fáilte ye Olde Scots, the beginner's Gaelic course. Kimraha Huladunya, how is everyone? Looky there, you already know how to say welcome to and how is everyone. Alright, in the next 25 lessons of Feuchamaich Beagan Gaelic, that's Let's Try a Little Gaelic, with a little work you can gain a rudimentary understanding of the Scottish Gaelic language. Now, these lessons were taken from my weekly podcast beginning back on May 15th of 2020. So if you like, you can listen to them there as well. But please remember that I am not an authority on the Gaelic language. I just love learning it. I struggle like most all learners, and so what I teach comes right from well-respected Gaelic teachers. I hope you find it interesting, informative, and fun, and as always, I display on the screen what I'm discussing so you can follow along. Alright, Kersh Maha, which means, alright then, let's get started. It's an introduction to some simple prepositional pronouns. Now, there's a handy chart I'm going to show you, which you can always download at Olde Scot Facebook group. The chart to reference simple prepositional pronouns. Now, if you can memorize these, that would be helpful, as sometimes they resemble other words. And if you know them ahead of time, it's so much the better. Look to the context of the material you're reading, and you should be able to figure out if the word is a prepositional pronoun or not. Now, learning and recognizing prepositional pronouns is key to understanding Gaelic. So take some time and work on these. You can download a copy of this chart, like I said, at Olde Scot Facebook group. Just go to Files and click on ppronouns.png. And this is lesson 20, so you should have more than enough vocabulary and then more than enough ability to put together a sentence that you can play around with some of these prepositional pronouns and have some fun. All right. Now, I'm going to give you some vocabulary because at the end of this, I'm going to give you some sentences and you're going to need them. Agrag, which is saying. Lav, hand. Brun, speaking. Nian, the girl. Urin, able. All right. Now, All right, I'm going to run through this chart real quick for you. I'm not going to go through every word for you, but we're just going to run through it real quick so you understand how to use the chart. To far left, you've got your pronouns. Me, u, a, e, shin, shiv, and it, which of course mean I or me, you, he or him, she or her, we, us, you, all, and they or them. And then the next column is the addition to make those emphatic when you're trying to say you're doing this or I'm doing that. All right. Now, at the very top of each column, you have the Gaidhlig preposition, and then, of course, you have the pronouns over here on the left-hand side. When those two are combined, just like any chart, you cross-reference, boom, you've got the pronoun for me, ak, and me is akum. And the pronoun for u and ak is akit, and so on. So, going down the line, you got er, which means on, an, which means in, a or as, out of or from, fo or o is from, j is of or off, do is to, fo is under, gu is to or towards, lay is with or by, mu is about, re is to or with, riv is before, har is over, and truv is through. Now if you notice, some of these have a little star, little asterisk next to them, like er, an, fo, j, fo, riv, triv, and those are ones that unite following a noun. All right. So enjoy playing around with these and having fun, but most importantly, learn them, study them, because they will come up. These will be very common. All right, and now we're going to move on to the 6 sentences at the end of the lesson here. And the 6 sentences are, starting with number 1, Avelu Gaidhlig Akum, which is a sentence you're going to hear a lot. 2 is Haigrai Riam. 3 is Horgol Dola. 4 is Karoiet Abrun Riche. 5 is Tolam and Nian Show. 6 and Uran Quit Gaidhlig Avrin. All right, keep up the great work and look forward to those next lessons. And Martian leave in Drozda, goodbye for now.
The oral tradition, you've got everything. You've got a whole ancestry behind you, comes through you. And when you're telling a story or singing a song, you are the vehicle by which a tribe comes through you. Your ancestors come here to help you. No, my Auntie Jeannie used to say, when you sing a ballad, Targeted Goni, that the ballad is in ear to ear, it travels like the great waves in the air. It's recorded in the bars and the stone and the wind and the trees and the so when you take a ballad, you get to sing a ballad. Read it into you, let it fill every part of your body, characters. And when you become all these characters, then once it's inside you, then you target it as best as you can. She never said you have to be a great singer today. She just wants you to feel the spirit and then target it body.
Away from my window to know I will tell my dear brother of my terrible sin. Go away from my window, do not enter in. Go away from my window, take your form from my door, for my heart it is sad, and my spirit is blue. I will tell my old father, it will soon break his heart, of my terrible sin, of what you took apart. Go away from my window, you have caused me such strife, for my heart it is so low, that I might end my I will tell my old mother, for she will understand, but I may well go to another strange land. Go away from my window, do not bother me, for my sister, she told me of things that would be. She said when I met you, that day I would rue, for no good could come from a man such as you. Go away from my window, do not venture in. Go away from my window, do not venture in.
Celtic history brings you the tales of the land, castles, warriors, heroes, legends, and customs that have created the rich, vibrant, and sometimes strange and wonderful history of the Celtic world. The Confessions of Isobel Gowdie. Part 1 of 2. The story of Isobel Gowdie is a look into the world of Scotland that was infected with the misconceptions of witches, and the legal and illegal means in which they chose to deal with the evil threat to their Christian ideals. Isobel Gowdie was married to John Gilbert, who had no involvement with the witchcraft case against Isobel. It seems she was brought up in the Aldern area, as she extensively mentions many of the nearby villages, hamlets, and farm towns during her confession. We do not know what her age was, but the legal age for marriage in Scotland at the time was 15. We can assume she had to be older than this. It should be noted that the average age for getting married in Scotland at that time was 26 or 27. In addition, during her confession, she alluded to have been engaged in sexual practices for about 15 years. Placing her somewhere between 30 and 50 years of age. There are no surviving records of her having any children, and she made no reference to any children in any of her confessions. Now, Isobel Gowdie and her husband lived in Loch Loy, some 2 miles north of Aldern. Isobel's husband was a farm laborer, a cutter hired by one of the tenant farmers of the Laird of Park in Loch Loy. one John Hay, whose ancestor, Sir William Hay, is interred at Elgin Cathedral. As a cotter, he would have been provided with a cottage and a parcel of land. Isobel claims to have helped her husband sell beef and webs of cloth for silver at a good price at the local market. Now, she lived her life in a turf house and spent her days milking, baking bread, weeding, and perhaps spinning yarn. Records indicate that the Laird of Park's tenants grew flax for linen production. It seems probable that Isobel Gowdie had little or no education. However, despite being unable to read or write, Isobel possessed a good imagination and could express herself very eloquently. Perhaps the thing which sets Isobel apart from other witch trials of the time is the sheer volume of her confession. Now, the outcome of Isobel Gowdie's confessions are unknown, and she slipped into obscurity for nearly 200 years until her confessions were published in 1833 in Robert Pitcairn's Ancient Criminal Trials in Scotland. Now, although the confessions quickly became celebrated, the original documents went missing. They were only rediscovered later when they were found in an uncatalogued box of papers once belonging to Isobel's landlord, the Laird of Park. The papers revealed that Isobel Gowdie made a series of 4 confessions over a 6-week period, the first being on the 13th of April, 1662, in Ulderne, Nairnshire. In keeping with the time, Isobel would have been kept in solitary confinement, probably in the toll booth in Ulderne, where she was likely beaten and deprived of sleep. Meanwhile, her co-accused, Janet Bredhead, was held in Inchuk Hessel, the seat of the Laird of Park. Now, during the course of her imprisonment, she was interrogated by the local ministers, Harry Forbes and Hugh Rose, in the presence of at least a dozen witnesses, including a public notary, John Innes. Now, her testimony bears the heavy imprint of a prosecutorial mind. Anxious to convict, the prosecutors clearly had preconceptions about the crimes witches supposedly committed, and her confession was clearly led with, questions like, when did you make a pact with the devil? And, when did you fly to the witch's Sabbath? Type questions, Now, Isobel Gowdie's first confession begins with the assertion that the said Isobel Gowdie, appearing penitent for her heinous sin of witchcraft, and that she had been overlong in that service without any compulsory precedent in her confession, whatever that means, and concludes that it was spoken and willingly confessed. Now, this does not mean that Isobel was not tortured by modern-day standards, but likely escaped the horrors of judicial torture or illegal physical torture using a torture device. It seems probable that she was subjected to the horrors of sleep deprivation. She may have endured the indignity of facing a witch pricker, one of which was known to be active in Moray at the time, who went by the name of John Dixon. It turned out that Mr. Dixon was really a woman named Christian Cadell, who was deported to Barbados in 1663 for her fraudulent behavior. Now, it seems alien to modern mind that anybody would stand up in court and confess to entering in a pact with the devil, or to having performed a ritual or charm which caused the death of a child, knowing that it would be signing their death warrant. Now, many did, though, if only to stop the endless torture which they were enduring. There is little doubt that many witchcraft suspects were coerced into making a full confession. However, there were many different forms of tortures that we see below. Now, number 1, judicial torture. Now, that's the application of physical coercion as part of the legal process in order to exact a confession. It could have included thumbscrews or iron boots. Permission had to be granted from the Privy Council for this form of torture, though. And most witchcraft cases originated in church courts. So this was kind of one of those last-ditch efforts. Number 2, though, searches for a witch mark or witch pricking was considered to be legal, and there were people employed as witch prickers. The pricker tested for the devil's mark on a spot of the body where a pin could be slipped in without bleeding or pain. That was seen as proof that the witch had entered into a pact with the devil. and of course sleep deprivation, which had the accused held in isolation and watched by guards. This was not considered to be torture during the period, but was probably the means by which most of those accused of witchcraft were found guilty. One of the most pronounced effects of sleep deprivations is it causes hallucinations. Now, another one was harsh jail conditions, including lack of food, warmth, ill treatment, including beatings by the guards. Then there's always the threat of mob violence. You got the whole city coming against you. You know, it's either die at their hands or die on the rope. So, and then of course the threat of a cruel execution. The crueler the execution, the quicker it seems that these people would confess to pretty much anything. Any one of those is good enough reason to confess to whatever was needed to end their pain, or the pain that may be coming. All right. Stay tuned for part 2, where we kind of get into depth with the confessions of Isobel Gowdie.
A holiday in the first one of the year. Little Mattie Grove's gone into the kirk, the gospel for to hear. And then in walked 3 ladies, and every eye they drew. Lord Arden's wife was gaily clad, fluid among the view. And when the service it was done, she stopped and looked around, and there she spied little Mattie Grove standing in the crowd. Lightly she's tipped up to him, her eyes so low cast down. Pray, oh pray, come home with me, lie in my arms till land. Oh, I can't come home, I won't come home, I can't come home for my life. For I see by the ring on your finger, you're the great Lord Arden's wife. Well, that may be false, that may be true, there's much I can't deny. Lord Arden is in Whitehall, King Henry's throne beside. A servant that was standing by, he's heard them every word. He swore Lord Arden would know this before the sun had set. Quickly, quickly he sped away, and he's run the king's highway. And when he's reached the water's edge, he swum with the tide and spray. The Mattie Groves has laid him down to take a rest and sleep. And when he woke, Lord Arden was standing at his feet. How do you like my feather bed? How do you like my sheets? How do you like my lady who lies in your arms asleep? It's well I like your feather bed, and it's well I like your sheets, but it's better I like your lady who lies in my arms asleep. Oh, get up, Lord Arden cried, get up while you still can, for it never will be said in all this land I sleep a naked man. Oh, I can't get up, I won't get up, I can't get up for my life. For you, 2 long broadswords, and I but a pocket knife. Oh, it's true I have 2 broadswords, and they cost me deep in purse, but you shall have the better of them, and I shall have the worst. You shall strike the very first blow, and strike it like a man, and I will strike the very next blow, and kill you if I can. Mattie struck the very first blow, and he's hurt Lord Arden's sore. Lord Arden struck the very next blow, and Mattie struck no more. He's taken up his own dear wife, and he's placed her upon his knee, saying, who do you like the better of us, Mattie Groves or me? Up and spoke his own dear wife, never heard to speak so free. I'd rather a kiss from dead Mattie's lips than you and your finery. And it's up and sprang Lord Arden, and he gave such a roar, he's run his wife right through the heart and up against the wall. Oh, a grave, Lord Arden cried to put these lovers in, but my lady at the top, she was of nobler kin. Oh, a holiday, and the first one of the year. Little Mattie Grove's gone into the kirk, the gospel for to hear.
Everyday Celtic Ways brings you the mythology, traditions, and customs that have created a unique and personal culture that still affects those that are Celtic and those that just love the Celtic world. So, as the story goes, two men, one a special forces sergeant and the other an SAS officer, struck a friendship while in service in Afghanistan. The two of them have met years later, and on a hike to a ruined castle near Hadrian's Wall, Sergeant Alex Moore swears he feels something watching him. The SAS officer, Matt Williams, dismisses it as just a fog of war, overtraining, or fatigue. That is, until he sees something out of the corner of his eye. A black fog drifting between the rocks. Now, upon inspection, they see nothing. But then they see it again. Now, both men know they are being drawn into a trap and split up to outflank whatever this is. Sergeant Moore moves through the brush and rocks swiftly as Sergeant William draws it out, running along the tree line. Before Sergeant Moore can reach the predetermined vantage point, he hears a scream. He breaks through the brush just in time to see Williams being pulled forcibly into the tree line. Pulling the knife from his pack, he rushes to his friend's aid. He runs along into the trees without care for his own safety. Limbs and bushes strike him as he runs past. Up ahead, he can see glimpses of Williams as whatever has him darts through the trees effortlessly. Finally, Moore catches up with Williams. An ethereal being dressed in black, flowing, tattered robes stands before with Williams in one hand and an ancient sword in the other. Moore is shocked at the sight before him and is paralyzed as what to do next. How do you defeat something like this? Then, from the stones of the ruins behind the creature, little dwarfs with red hats begin poking their heads up to see what all the commotion is about. Moore rubs his eyes to wipe the sweat and the disbelief of what is before him. The red-headed dwarves begin to move towards Moore, but with the wave of his hand, the creature sends them scurrying back to the rocks. Then the creature pulls another sword from his back and throws it to the feet of Moore.
You are a fast human. Are you equally a warrior?
What are you? Asked Moore, picking up the sword from the ground.
If you live, I will tell you all you want to know.
Never one to back down from a fight, Moore drops his pack, takes off his coat, and prepares himself for battle. The creature lifts Williams in the air with one hand and sets him upon the stones behind him. Then, as Red Hats crept up from the stones, he wagged a bony finger to let them know not to touch his prize. Moore and the creature circled each other, sizing each other up, until Moore surprisingly lunged forward, taking the creature by surprise. His blow was fierce, yet only glanced the black robes, ripping a chunk of it from the creature, which dissipated in the cool air of the day.
You surprise me, human,
says the creature. My name is Moore. The two of them fought for a long time, each striking blows to the other, but no blow severe enough to cause any damage. Each of them reveals themselves as a skilled warrior, and as it is obvious to Moore that this creature has easily killed others like this, it is also obvious that he is holding his own. The fight continues until the creature, finally, backs away and holds up his hands.
I do not want to kill you, Moore, and I will, eventually, as I do not tire. However, I also do not want to kill you because I respect a skilled warrior, and this world needs skilled warriors.
So what do we do now? Moore asks.
Let us sit, and I will answer your questions.
What about my friend?
Let him sleep. He needs to make more blood.
Blood? Moore asks.
Sit, listen, and you will understand. But this information is for you. You must never tell a soul what you are about to hear.
The two of them sit upon the rocks, red hats gathered behind the creature, some even sitting upon Williams as he sleeps until the creature waves them off.
I am called Ly Erg. We are fairies. We have lived in this fairy mound for, well, as long as I can remember. In the dark times before this place was called the land of the Scots, sorcerers did the biddings of kings, chiefs, and madmen. When a great war between two ancient tribes of Caledonia came to this land, we could do little but stand by and watch humans slaughter each other. That is, except for one of the tribes who had the upper hand with a powerful sorcerer, who commanded the triumphant tribe, of course. When we thought the worst was over, we searched the battlefield for survivors. Only a few of both sides were found, so we brought them here to these stones and gave them the aid and comfort they needed. When the sorcerer learned of our actions, he was furious. He came here, and without hesitation, he killed all the soldiers, regardless of the fact they belonged to both tribes. Then, with a wave of his hand and an eerie incantation, he turned all of us into Redcaps, who must kill and keep their hats red with blood or die. He left us to our curse, and we never saw him again. But soon after he left, the souls of those dead soldiers combined and entered into me, and I became the creature you see before you. The curse still applies to me, but with the combined abilities of the soldiers who died, I became a formidable and dangerous creature, one that I know would protect us for all eternity. There are no more sorcerers in this world, so our fate is to live like this forever.
If I were not sitting here right now, I would not believe it. I promise you, I will search the world over to find help for you, Moore explains.
You cannot tell anyone about the curse, though. It is part of it.
No one would believe me anyway if I even had told them. The next morning, Williams woke to Moore, Ly Erg, and numerous Redcaps looking over him. Once he was up upon his feet and could walk, the two men walked out of the trees and back to their lives, where their lives would never be the same. Now, I don't know if Moore ever found a sorcerer to help the Ly Erg and the Redcaps. However, the mysterious disappearances that happened in and around the forests and around the ancient ruins happened less and less, until they never happened again.
Is a genie mare gala vi me gala khla komme la min hare ra hing ha was sai shung halvai fatai nyala bin Gaidhlig ha si hune va horo vilim boha elim beroi koi elim boha si hune va horo vilim boha da kunnen na chier man je khome si ke fa no khisa khore na tsakna ke tas kam bi hoshas khwakh khayi on je fine as ni stiffing in my hini hani shinga masi hune va horo vilim boha elim beroi koi elim boha si hune va horo vilim boha beyond the net for Johnny kachmara gesma nach links in den galen gefer hokasasi se vyundra gene chaniga achkalach nach reset the love han nulir gen mi watch spulje hoshit halit listan in je masi hune va horo vilim boha elim beroi koi elim boha si hune va horo vilim boha Mini chef for tours on survived in the gush kept up in a hole in a chunk of a math the cash of mega no and a gach and nisigoni kind of a hole and see that on your classy here the bahoro vilim boha elim beroi koi elim boha see here the bahoro vilim boha Sy'n eithaf gylwad yn gyda mydig yn ei rhaid na cadach Sy'n bore fa hyd gydyn i mis yn maroch Fys am gybi far yn gydfag a lipiad Si hyn y bahor o Wili yn boha Ili yn byroi goi Ili yn boha Si hyn y bahor o Wili yn boha Gyndoges da hefall Ych achledyn sy'n gydrach Gynhogedd efo ar un a'ch bart na smiach Ar y digyn yn nan Os gynhwydioch y gynhad mi Ben yw hygysas i cholwad Yn i iad Si hyn y bahor o Wili yn boha Ili yn byroi goi Ili yn boha Si hyn y bahor o Wili yn boha Ili yn byroi goi Ili yn boha Si hyn y bahor o Wili yn boha
Top of Lever Heritage. Now remember to check out my YouTube channel. It's got Celtic music, podcasts, Gaelic language, Gaelic song, Celtic history videos, plus lots more. And my Facebook group where you can give me your inputs and insights on all things Celtic. But before I let you
The current tallest building on the Isle of Ireland is the Isobel Tower in Belfast, Northern Ireland, 279 feet.
Goodbye, Apple Baby. Masha Weave.
Goodbye, everybody. But I'm going to let you go with a song.
Alles der glan na garach, hu kunju gallein mohulen. Spekjörnig mi vitram chreachgach, ger trich gar repa gas orshin. Stjach gar gose figen os nich metan os gichen mocharstjöf. Gertrich gen je karne garach, tag nan darakas arstje. Chail shinyan an agus kala, shirtal a vach se vraher. Ketten fagein vigad gedan, gan mach ich gelens na vlaar oain. Chail shin dara gladje vlia glas, va kumel gien en a charstjev. Kachpel karje varne gusich, shoak sugaram lo for ladjer. But du kjaun keil ser kard, skach groch am bikuram. Agi haljer halt a hlach kvor, kria fil farshin man chunjach. But du roan a sar gashkach ar gola heichgus du a buel. Lo an smedal fedal femel, kelm fech gachail shemus juarst. Betún lasse jara gan loskach, betú skocht a giet gan salchef, betú kudi kudacha, betún luch gan ag laiva, betún bratan naun sa nirusk firien an jan leis arstje, betún lo an had gach beach, betú davlehan na kraichke. Goyam danam a visaval, John a chade gams an uru. Goyam sonne ser na gaku, au na dados au na tguich. Goyam dovach Natacha, aun an saivris aun an kuram. Alles der glaun a garach, hukun jugal.